So, what's your take, man? I just lit into Trump saying, I want answers to these three questions. Are you saying he already gave them?
No, I think those are good questions. I haven't followed those questions because I was actually coming back downstairs off my rooftop.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think those are good questions. I mean, if you want talking about questions for future chat, using hospitals, makeshift hospitals from universities and stadiums, that's a great idea.
Yeah, the questions were, what's the current capacity? Give a number. The second was, what do we project demand to be in the next six
Yeah,
weeks?
you have to have a follow-up question with those two questions is not only what is the projected number that you have and what you need, but how long are those people going to be on those ventilators? Because they might need to be on the ventilator for 10 to 30 days,
Yeah,
So
yeah. So you
there's a
could say
second.
number two could be, what is a projected demand in the next 6 weeks, 12 weeks, and 6 months?
Yeah, you'd have to do like an Excel spreadsheet on that because like when, bed number one is activated, it's activated for 30 days, then bed number two is activated, and then,
The reason why I didn't even go into that detail is I don't even think we have enough for day one.
Right, we don't.
So what are we going to, so then hence question three, which is how do you reconcile number one and number two?
Right, but we're not getting into a big discussion on it. Right? We're just chit-chatting.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So what do you want to chit chat about?
No,
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's bad. I mean, I'm just wondering, like, most people in the U.S. are staying inside, I think. Right now, if you look at the live cam, which is shared in family chats, Los Angeles is a dead city. So is New York. So is Miami. So maybe, good thing maybe the virus will just burn itself out. I don't know. I mean, I'm also do think that we will hit 100, 200,000 cases in the U.S. soon. But on the other hand, if you're not going out, like I know you're in Zurich, but I'm not going out. I'm not going to get infected. Hopefully, touch wood.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are already infected.
Oh, really?
And I think eventually people will need.
Incubation is about 5 to 8 days. So let's just say I was infected. I've been staying at home for 10 days. Then,
Right. So number one, you may have been asymptomatic. Number two, we don't yet have data on reinfection rates. Like if you take as an example, flu season, I've had flu seasons where I've gotten the flu more than once. Where I thought like I got it, I was done, and then you get it again. The third thing is the data from Italy is showing different demographic problems than in China. In China, everybody was talking about the 60 plus crowd, right? Being the most susceptible. But in Italy now, there are as many people in the 20 to 45 crowd, almost as many in the hospitals as the 60 and over crowd.
Well, I don't think it's a fun thing to risk, even if you're not over 60 to get, because, maybe the bulk of you will be asymptomatic or just mild, but, you don't want to end up in a hospital. I've never been on a ventilator. I've never had anything, to keep me breathing. And I don't think it's a very pleasant, thing. So
yeah,
we should all be following the rules.
Well, the other concern that some doctors and scientists are saying is that why is the demographic data in Italy so different than China?
I thought it's a different strain or what that some people are saying.
It could be mutating.
Yeah.
And if it's mutating, I know some people say that you can take a cocktail of malaria medicine and it'll take care of it. But whatever cure we come up with may not even work. Because think about the flu vaccine. They get it wrong every other year practically. And they're like,
hey, what do you think of Cuomo? I think Cuomo is pretty presidential.
Oh, I find Cuomo to be very much acting like a commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
And but he's not he's not MAGA, right?
He's not Republican?
No. Yeah.
No, I know. But he's actually, I watch his daily briefings. It's very informative.
Yeah, I think in the past you called him a snowflake.
I don't like his brother on CNN.
See, sometimes these snowflakes can actually be decent people, just so you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that your dog is very cute.
Okay, good.
You know, that's kind of BS because I don't have Daisy with me right now. Let me go get Daisy. So
Let
we
me
can
get
have
my other dog.
a dog showdown.
Let me get my other dog. I have 2 dogs. Ah! This is Happy. This is the Happy, the other dog. I shaved them down. I can't see your chats, but yeah, this dog is Happy, and then my other dog is Dopey. 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 I shaved them down. I'll tell you why I shaved them down. For those of you who have dogs, is if you're walking your dog in the street, which I'm still doing, there may be corona all over the place. So I'm trying to keep the dog low with less hair, so less chance of the corona being on their hair. And then when I bring them back home, and I wash them down after every walk, just so you know.
Now this is a dog. This is a real dog right here.
So
Right,
Daisy? I can't see it.
What do you mean you can't see?
I only see your picture. I don't see it. I don't see like any video. I only see your picture. It's really weird.
Oh, maybe because you're on mobile. Let me put Daisy down. All right, Daisy.
Yeah.
Oh. But at any rate, Daisy's a way better dog. Any rate, so going forward, here's my concern. How long can we pause the economy?
Yeah, that's a big question. Just gonna, I think that's why Trump was afraid of shutting down everything earlier, because I was talking with one of my friends, and he's not even, very financially smart, but he said this 1 or 2 months ago. I was like ranting. I said, Trump should have closed down Europe, everything, when he shut down China. And he said that would have killed the economy more than the virus would kill the economy, So.
Well, you run the numbers. Let's say 300 million people. Let's say 10. Let's be conservative. Only 10% get infected. That's 30 million, and 10% of those need ICU. That's 3 million, but we only have 100,000 ICU beds. So let's just say, 20% of those who don't get the beds die. That's still 600,000 deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, that's makes 9/11 look like nothing.
Yeah. No, I mean, actually, the world, if you watch a lot of this pandemic stuff, I mean, the world is actually long overdue for this type of virus. I mean, the Spanish flu was about 100 years ago, right?
Yeah.
That killed anywhere from 30 to 50 million people. And they didn't have the type of travel that we have now, Obviously, we know a lot more about viruses than we did back then. Apparently, like, priests were also helping spread the virus because they were giving people last rites, and then they would carry the virus on to other people. So we know a lot more now than we do then, but it doesn't mean, like, again, something like this will probably again happen again. They wiped out species before. We're not the only species that probably got wiped out.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like the equivalent of a periodic forest fire where nature removes or culls a herd a little bit.
Exactly.
But no, I would say, that doesn't mean we should not take decisive action to.
Yeah. So you asked the question. Yeah, that's a very good question. How long can the economy last like this with basically nobody working? So yeah, I don't know how long it's going to be, but at some point the economy is going to break. I mean, the economy is already broken. There's nothing going on.
There's not a lot of commerce going on around you right now.
Yeah, there's nothing. How can you be a hairdresser? How can you be a massage therapist? How can you be even a dentist? Am I right? Personal training.
And this is where you want to, if you want to run the even more difficult numbers, which I presume, I hope someone in the task force is doing.
Mhm.
At some point, you have to run the numbers of how many people are going to die because they lose their job and they can't afford their medicine, or they can't afford food, or they become substance abuse, or they become homeless. Like, there's a
Yeah.
cost to putting a pause on the economy. And this is why I know the Nerds for Humanity audience, a lot of our Yang Gang, and we love the UBI. Part of the freedom dividend worked because it was funded by a VAT, but you don't get any VAT revenue if there's no value being added.
Exactly. Exactly. So, like, for example, I mean, I don't know how many UBI checks would have to go out, but, you know, like, let's just say there's 340 million Americans, but you're not going to give UBI check to every American. So let's just say 150 million or 100 million Americans. But then you times that by 1,000. I don't have, you know, calculator in my brain, but, you know, that number gets very, very big when the federal government doesn't have income coming in. So, you know, it's going to be like a big hole.
Yeah, if I were advising the president, I would say your number one goal is to increase the supply of these critical care and hospital beds, because once you get it enough, you can slowly transition back to opening up the economy, because when people go back to work and they get infected, at least we can give them care.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I want to add, I think Trump is misled the public on a lot of this stuff, not out of malice, but actually out of to protect humanity. Okay, this is my thinking. Is, for example, like, you know, a lot of the government is telling you that you don't need PPE, you don't need to wear masks, but all the governments in Asia are telling the public to wear masks, and all the people in Hong Kong walk around with masks. And there's a shortage of masks right now. So even Cuomo's asking people to donate, like, construction masks, dentists to donate masks. So maybe Trump was downplaying this whole thing again, you know, a few weeks ago, because he don't want people to panic and he wants to get everything kind of in place, you know, maybe for, you know, worst case, as, you know, I've discussed privately, maybe martial law, National Guard troops, you know, Humvees, tanks on the ground. I don't know.
I could buy that. I could buy there being a meeting where they were saying, look, this is how many masks we have in the country. This is how much we need.
Right.
And this is how much we're going to need for the medical professionals.
Yeah.
And then they probably said, look, we can do one of three things. We can tell them the truth, but the worry will be there's going to be a run on masks, right?
They will be mass looting. They told everyone the truth like 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, that this thing was contagious, you know, where you could touch a surface, you know, and we don't have enough masks and we don't have enough ventilators. People are going to do the math. The market would have crashed back then. And, you know, I think that, you know, they were just trying to they were trying to flatten the curve, but also delay any crisis, just push out this crisis until, you know, they had more time to just get things in place.
The cost is that for many people, maybe not you, but for many people, the president has lost a lot of credibility. And there's going to be a time where he's going to need people to believe him. And if he lies about masks and he lies about the temperature, it's going to warm up in April, and he lies about, well, this is just a Chinese thing, we have it under control, it doesn't affect the average American. At some point, I think the people will say, you know, I don't know if I believe you. You know? Oh, by the way, I want to say welcome to Emerald, who is a new member of the channel. But yeah, so I know what you're saying. Like, he didn't want, maybe he was trying to avoid mass hysteria.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, like this is you have to, like, we're a democracy. You got to give the citizens some credit, right? Like, you can't say like, oh, you're not mature enough to know that masks help you prevent the spread.
Yeah, but sometimes in case for national security, I mean, this is like a national security issue. You have your economy in crisis, you have your healthcare system in crisis, and potentially you have social chaos.
I would be more sympathetic to that argument if I saw the Army Corps of Engineers building temporary hospitals, and I saw an order for manufacturers to produce ventilators using the.
I think the Army Corps of
power.
Engineers was asked, and Cuomo did mention Army Corps of Engineers are supposed to help spec out and retrofit these hotels and universities.
Well, dude, they need to do it now. This is like a war. This is not like we should talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Trump needs to activate the National Guard. I mean, basically send out the troops.
I don't see it happening.
I'm a big fan of that. Now, martial law.
Well, I'm not sure we need martial law. That's where you and I are going to disagree. But I think there needs to be more robust. There needs to be more
military.
There needs to be more robust
law enforcement.
Okay, I got it. I get you. Can we just agree that we need more medical capacity, and then we'll park the whole whether or not we need martial law right away.
Okay.
All right, man.
Listen, my battery's about to die, but thanks for inviting me into the chat. Yeah, because I don't want to cut off.
Dude, the people love you. The people love Montana. Wild Hack says you can't argue with Peter's hair.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
There you go. And Miss Daisy seems very relaxed. She's not too worried about things. She has a pretty good life. But all right, man. So you want to say goodbye, nerds, to everybody?
Bye, nerds. Keep it strong. Look at the muscles.
All right. Bye, nerds.
Bye, nerds.